The Danish royal family, known for their poised grace and modern approach to monarchy, is reeling from a heartbreaking personal tragedy. King Frederick X and Queen Mary, usually a symbol of strength, elegance, and unity, have been dealt an emotional blow that no title, no crown, can shield them from. A close friend, a trusted confidant, someone whose presence was more than ceremonial, someone who walked beside them not just through official engagements, but through the private corridors of their lives, is gone. Suddenly, tragically, irrevocably. This is not just a royal headline. This is a story of loss, love, friendship, and the very human reality behind palace gates. The Danish press broke the news quietly at first, out of respect. But it wasn't long before the somber expressions on the faces of King Frederick and Queen Mary told the nation everything it needed to know. Something had changed. Something had been lost. Royal correspondents confirmed what many had feared. A deeply cherished friend of the king and queen had passed away unexpectedly. While the palace initially released a short, understated statement expressing their profound sadness, sources close to the royal household revealed just how devastating the loss was for the couple. This wasn't just a figure who existed in the periphery of royal life. This was someone whose presence was interwoven with the very fabric of Frederick and Mary's most intimate moments, both in public and in private. Their trusted ally, a guiding voice during critical times, and a figure whose counsel had shaped decisions, soothed anxieties, and celebrated triumphs alongside them. So who was this person? What role did they play in the lives of the king and queen? And why has their passing left such a deep wound not only within the royal household but across Denmark? Sources familiar with the royal inner circle describe the deceased as a figure of exceptional loyalty, an individual who had been part of the royal couple's journey since the early days of their union. When Crown Prince Frederick met the Australian-born Mary Donaldson during the Sydney Olympics in 2000, many wondered how a love story so far-flung could ever survive the pressures of monarchy. But survive it did, and behind that survival was a tightly knit circle of friends, mentors, and confidants, individuals who helped bridge the cultural divide, ease Mary's transition into royal life, and serve as emotional anchors when the tides of duty became overwhelming. This friend, whose identity remains respectfully guarded in many official reports out of privacy for the family, was one of those anchors. They were there when Mary took her first tentative steps into the royal spotlight. There when Frederick wrestled with the pressures of princely duty. There when their marriage blossomed, when their family grew, when Denmark gained not just a new royal, but a new sense of modern monarchy. In every royal household, there are faces the public never sees. Advisors, friends, and quiet supporters who offer something that no protocol officer or political advisor can: genuine, heartfelt support. This was the role this dearly departed friend played for King Frederick and Queen Mary. Not just a dinner guest or a fellow attendee at court functions, but a confidant, someone who received the late-night phone calls, who stood by them through moments of doubt, who offered counsel not because it was their job, but because it was their calling. They were often spotted discreetly behind the scenes at events, always present, always calm. Not flashy, not front-page material, but irreplaceable. Those who know the royal couple personally describe a level of trust between them and their departed friend that is rarely seen in royal circles. The friend had no ambition to rise through the court. They wanted only to be a steadfast source of strength, humor, and loyalty, a presence that reminded King Frederick and Queen Mary that behind the formality of the throne lay something more: eternal friendship. As news of the death broke, Denmark reacted with a wave of mourning rarely seen outside of royal deaths themselves. Tributes poured in, from citizens, politicians, and members of the extended royal family. Candles were lit outside the palace gates. Flowers and handwritten letters began to appear, tokens of sympathy, not just for a royal couple, but for two human beings who had lost someone irreplaceable. State broadcasters aired a special program chronicling the friendship that had shaped the royal couple's path. Images from the past 2 decades flickered across screens, moments captured in time, laughing over dinner, quiet walks in the royal gardens, shared glances during high-stakes events. Each image told a story not just of royal life, but of human connection. In interviews, even seasoned journalists struggled to maintain composure as they described the deep emotional toll this loss had taken on Denmark's king and queen. As we see them now, King Frederick standing beside Queen Mary, both dressed in mourning black, there is a haunting vulnerability in their eyes. They are not just monarchs in sorrow. They are two hearts broken by the silence left behind when a beloved friend's voice is no longer there. For Queen Mary, this loss is not just personal, it's profoundly defining. The Australian-born Queen Consort, admired for her poise, empathy, and unshakable strength, has often been the emotional center of Denmark's royal family. But those closest to her say that the passing of this friend has left a wound she's struggling to conceal. Behind every one of Queen Mary's graceful public appearances lies a fortress of resilience. But even the strongest foundations shake under the weight of grief. Those who observed her during the first official event following the tragic news noticed subtle changes, slower steps, dimmed smiles, and a somber softness in her gaze. Royal insiders shared that Mary was particularly close to the deceased, often confiding in them when the pressures of royal life became overwhelming. During her early years in Denmark, when she was still adjusting to protocol, scrutiny, and cultural shifts, it was this friend who offered her familiarity, comfort, and guidance. They were her reminder of normalcy, someone who knew her before the titles, who treated her not as Her Majesty but as Mary. And it is this kind of friendship, stripped of pretense, that becomes hardest to lose. She didn't have to explain herself to them, one source noted. They just understood each other. If Queen Mary is the emotional anchor of the royal family, then King Frederick is its enduring compass. Known for his deep intellect, love for adventure, and commitment to service, the new King of Denmark has always approached his role with sincerity. But now, in the face of profound grief, the nation has seen a more private, solemn side of their monarch. Those close to the royal couple reveal that King Frederick was devastated by the news. He cancelled a private engagement the day he received word of his friend's passing and spent hours alone in the royal gardens, one of the only places where he feels he can breathe freely without eyes upon him. There, in the quiet rustle of the wind and the solitude of ancient trees, he mourned not as a king, but as a man. And yet, despite his personal sorrow, Frederick understood the symbolic role he had to play. Days later, he appeared publicly for a wreath-laying ceremony, his first since the loss. Dressed in full military regalia, he laid a single white rose in tribute to his friend, holding back tears as a hush fell over the crowd. It was not an official funeral. There were no speeches, but those who witnessed it said the atmosphere was more powerful than any ceremony. It was a king in mourning, a man honoring someone who shaped his journey. When someone close to royalty passes away, their legacy can often be buried beneath titles and traditions. But in this case, the impact of this friend's life will not be forgotten. They were instrumental not just in offering emotional support, but also in helping the couple bridge divides between royal expectations and modern values, between public image and private identity. They often acted as a sounding board during difficult decisions. Their input, while informal, was highly respected. They were present for key milestones in the family's life, from the couple's wedding in 2004 to the christenings of their children, to countless quiet evenings away from the public eye. The royal children, especially Princess Isabella and Crown Prince Christian, had grown up knowing this person as part of their extended family. To them, this wasn't an aide or advisor, this was someone who played with them, offered stories, and brought joy to their most formative years. While much of the public's attention remains on King Frederick and Queen Mary, the heartbreak has also deeply affected their children. Crown Prince Christian, now a young man preparing for his future as Denmark's monarch one day, reportedly took the loss with great maturity. Palace insiders say he spent time privately with his grandparents, Queen Margrethe and Prince Henrik's family, seeking strength from the older generation. Princess Isabella, known for her sensitive and thoughtful nature, was seen placing flowers at a private memorial the family created within the palace. It was a simple bouquet, hand-picked wildflowers from the palace gardens, but it spoke volumes. The younger twins, Prince Vincent and Princess Josephine, are said to be still processing the news with help from counselors and their parents. The royal family has long advocated for mental health awareness, and true to their principles, they are ensuring their children receive the emotional support they need during this difficult time. Rarely has the grief of a royal family resonated so profoundly with the public. But Denmark is not just a kingdom, it is a closely knit society that sees its monarchs as symbols of shared identity. Newspapers have published heartfelt editorials. Candlelight vigils were organized in cities across the country. Even schoolchildren left notes outside royal residences, addressed simply to the king and queen. "We're so sorry for your loss." One letter read, "You've always been there for us. Now we want to be here for you." The royal family, often seen as distant or untouchable, now feels closer to the people than ever before. Their grief has reminded the world that behind every crown lies a beating heart, and behind every monarch, a very human story of love and loss. Although she abdicated the throne in January, Queen Margrethe remains a matriarchal figure both within the family and across Denmark. She has reportedly been a great source of comfort to her son and daughter-in-law. Margrethe, herself no stranger to personal loss, offered quiet guidance, recalling the early days of her own reign and the unexpected challenges of royal life. Her wisdom, deeply rooted in experience, served as a stabilizing presence. "She told them," said one courtier, "that grief is not to be feared, it's to be honored." In keeping with the family's wishes, the funeral of their friend was held privately, with only close loved ones in attendance. No cameras, no headlines, just a heartfelt farewell, filled with memories, music, and tears. Queen Mary reportedly gave a short speech, written by hand, recalling a memory of her first days in Denmark. Her voice cracked, but she continued, "You were the first one who saw me not as a princess, but as a person." King Frederick placed a single note inside the casket, its contents known only to him. Those who were present say the king stood by the grave long after the service ended, staring silently at the earth that had claimed someone who meant the world to him. Grief, especially at such a level, is never truly gone. But it changes, it softens, it becomes part of the story, rather than the whole of it. King Frederick and Queen Mary have slowly begun returning to their royal duties. They know that their country needs them, just as they once needed their departed friend. But something about their presence has changed. They are softer, more reflective, and infinitely more human. Those who have met them in recent weeks describe a couple deeply touched by sorrow, but also bound more closely together because of it. If there was ever a moment that defined the true heart of their monarchy, it is now. Though their name may not be etched into the official records of Denmark's royal court, this friend's legacy lives on in ways no historian could ignore. They shaped the tone of a modern monarchy. They infused it with compassion. They gave strength to a future king and queen, not with decrees, but with presence. Their story is a reminder that behind every great reign, there are unseen heroes. People who never sought the spotlight, but whose influence was profound. People who, through love and loyalty, make history possible, not by leading nations, but by holding up those who do. As we close this tribute, we are reminded of something universal: grief knows no titles. Love knows no crowns, and in the end, what we remember most is not a person's power, but their presence. To King Frederick and Queen Mary, this loss is immeasurable. But through it, they have revealed a side of monarchy that is rarely seen: raw, vulnerable, and achingly real. If this story moved you, please subscribe and turn on notifications to stay updated on more exclusive, heartfelt royal stories from around the world. We explore not just the headlines, but the human hearts behind them. What do you think is the most powerful kind of legacy someone can leave behind? Let us know in the comments below.